Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we're going to be doing something a little bit different with this episode. For those of you who've been around the channel for a long time, you guys may remember I've done a series back in the day called Storytime with Spartan. So today, while we have some gameplay in the new Tier 7 British battlecruiser, the Hawk, I thought it'd be a fun one to just do a Storytime with Spartan. And so, what is the subject for today? Growing up in the middle of nowhere. So, a lot of you guys know that I'm literally, I always said I'm from the middle of nowhere. Okay, let's restart here. So, I am from the middle of the swamp, in the middle of the forest, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of southeastern central Ohio. And I am more specifically from the very southern portion of the most poor county in Ohio, and that is Perry County, Ohio. Now, what is some of the unique things? As you guys have seen with some of my old walk with me videos, when I started getting in shape and doing some stuff, I would do the 5-mile walk around the house. There was a nice little loop where I would just walk down the road around the house. I'm literally from the middle of nowhere, right? Like, you can't really argue that. The towns in my neighborhood, or like the towns in my area, aren't even called towns. They're called villages. They're not even big enough to be called towns. That's how small and rural my area is, right? And being in the southeastern portion of central Ohio, we're actually in a gorgeous area, as I'm sure you guys have noted. The area that I'm from is called the Wayne National Forest, right? It's also known as the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains, one of the two north-south running mountain ranges in the United States that contribute to a lot of our insane weather here in the U.S. We have the Rockies out west, we have the Appalachians in the east, and you know, I'm right on the edge of the Appalachian Mountains here in southeastern central Ohio. But what you guys may not know is that the Wayne National Forest is the only national forest in Ohio, despite Ohio being a pretty sizable state in area. Believe it or not, Ohio is actually one of the smaller states in the United States. A lot of people don't realize just how big the U.S. really, truly is. And I think Ohio is rated 32nd in size, and that's out of the 50 states. So, yeah, we're on the smaller side. Not tiny, obviously, but on the smaller side. You can drive from southern Ohio up to northern Ohio. If you're going catty corner, say from Cincinnati up to Cleveland, you could probably make it like 4 hours, something like that. But Ohio is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of boring for those of us who grew up here, right? Like, most people would be like, well, what is there to do in Ohio? And most of us be like, there ain't much of anything to do in Ohio, let's be real. But let's be honest, anywhere you grow up, you're gonna be like, well, yeah, there's nothing really to do here, because you've done everything, right? You're from there. But for people coming and visiting, we get a lot of people visit our area for hunting, especially. Like, Ohio is notorious for having some of the largest white-tailed deer in the country. And that's due to the regulations involving deer hunting, to the limitations or lamentations of all of us who have to deal with the amount of deer that run out in front of our cars all the time. Yeah. If you've lived in Ohio for most of your life, there's a good chance that at some point or another, if you've been driving, especially in the rural areas of Ohio, that you've probably hit a deer or two or three at some point. And it is absolutely awful. On both sides. Like, you feel bad for the deer, but you also feel horrific for your car. And you know that you about get slapped over the head with some insurance premium increase, right? But anyway, I digress. One of the things that I do want to, like, bring up is a lot of people just don't realize that a lot of people ask me, like, despite, you know, being one of the larger channels for World of Warships Legends, and I kind of maintain the fact that I'm the largest channel for World of Warships Legends, even though I know that I was passed by PG. He kind of does other things with, shorts and stuff that have helped, like, propel his channel past me. In terms of consistent uploads and stuff, I consider myself the largest channel. Anyway, one of the things that you guys may not be aware of is just how poor we were growing up. And I'm not saying that we were, like, completely poor, right? Like, there are a lot worse off families in my area than we were. My dad worked his butt off. My mom actually worked for a good chunk of, you know, my early life until I got into school. Shortly after getting into school, my mom ended up quitting her job as an EMT, which, for those of you who don't know, is an emergency medical technician. Somebody who works on an ambulance. She did actual work on an ambulance, but then she ended up working in the volunteer fire department as well. But I digress. One of the things that you kind of take for granted growing up. Like, you really do take a lot of things for granted growing up. And as a child, you don't know any better, right? You don't know what your family's going through in terms of why you don't have the things that other kids have and stuff like that. You don't know. All you know is that, you know, you've got what you got, and other people have other things, and you'd want to have other things, but you always get told you can't. But one of the things that as you grow older and you start to look back on, like after my mom passed away, I kind of took over doing finances for my dad, or at least keeping his finances somewhat in check as best I could. One of the things you realize is just how little money he made doing all the jobs. Like, he worked a crap ton of hours. I mean, the stupidest amount of overtime you've ever heard of in your life. Like, my dad is, and has always been, a ridiculously hard worker. And so going back and looking at some of his W-2s throughout the years, when I first looked and realizing that, you know, he's raising a family of 4, not to mention helping his parents out who lived on the same property as us and stuff, doing everything he can. And my dad would still do anything for anybody. One of the things that you realize is that it's amazing that we managed to make it at all. But one of the things that helped us, and this is the whole point of this story, one of the things that helped us was the community. This is something that nobody really has today. Like, and I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also not really, because it depends on where you're from, where you're at. Ouch, we just got slapped by that Massachusetts. But for the most part, the sense of community has gone. Like, I feel like when I was growing up, the community as a whole was much closer. There were a lot more people that were involved in trying to help one another out. And now it seems like everybody's so busy that, like, nobody has time for anybody else, right? And a lot of that also comes down to certain people taking advantage of others and stuff like that. But one of the things that really helped our area when I was growing up was just people helping other people. Whether it be, you know, hey, I got a garden over here. Can you help me, or can you send your kids down to help us pick stuff from the garden? And you can, you know, your kids can bring back, you know, vegetables, whether it be tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, potatoes, all that stuff. Like, I've talked about this in the past, where we would stand in line outside the fire department and go to, like, the commodities and stuff like that, which were just government handed out stuff for, you know, being in an area that was technically impoverished. But one of the things that I think a lot of people can relate to in my area, we had the local bait shop. Our local bait shop was run by a man named OJ, and this man, he was a character, don't get me wrong, he was an absolute character. But he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And he did so much for our community in terms of helping so many people. How many people can sit out there and be like, you know, in order to make it through, my parents had a line of credit with the local bait shop to get groceries. Like, how many people out there can honestly say something along those lines? Like, it's pretty rare, right? But OJ would do that. He would absolutely keep a tab. And it was just a little tiny shop in Corning, Ohio. If you guys know, you know. If you don't, maybe you can look it up. I think it's actually a page on Facebook about OJ's bait shop. But anyway, he absolutely saved so many families in our community of only a couple of thousand people. Just by being a good person. And one of the things that I have tried to take forward, you know, as I've gotten a little bit better off in terms of my YouTube channel and trying to pay that forward to other people, why I like to show off to other people, show off other channels and you know, help other people out, is because growing up, I had those kind of influences in my life, whether it be my grandparents helping other people out, whether it be my parents always helping other people out, whether it be people helping my parents out. Like there was just a sense of community when I was growing up, and this just shows I'm old. Like, I get it, I'm old. This is really placing my age, but like when I was growing up, we didn't even have Walmart. Like, okay, let's just put that into perspective. Walmart did absolutely exist. I think Walmart's been around since the 60s, but in my area, there was no Walmart, you know? And Walmart actually coming into our area kind of screwed up our area a little bit, because a lot of the mom and pop shops that we talk about have kind of gone the wayside just because of something like that. But we had little stores like Save-A-Lot, like Super Duper. That was one. I don't know if anybody out there remembers Super Duper before they went out of business, but come on, somebody out there's got to. But yeah, just little things that you look back on as an adult now, that you look back on your childhood and you remember and you just kind of reminisce about. And I hope that this wasn't a boring video for you guys. I hope this is just kind of a fun little, like, glimpse into somebody else's life, you know? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to see your stories down in the comments. Who knows? If you guys really respond well to this and you guys leave a bunch of comments, maybe I can go through, read the comments, and make a video out of that where I react or read to your comments and see how you guys' lives were growing up too. But I would definitely love to read about it. You guys know I'm one of the most active people when it comes to reading comments and reacting, and, you know, getting back to you guys as best I can. Because I love it. Like, I love interacting with you guys. So anyway, let me know. I look forward to reading your guys' comments about your childhood, things that you realize as you're an adult now, things that you look back on that maybe you took for granted as a kid that just don't exist anymore. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.